Good morning. I have a question for you. What do you do when you encounter something you don't understand? Say, be it likely it's going to be metaphysical, because if you're a materialistic person and you don't really recognize things outside of your physical consciousness, then when people start to talk about metaphysics or subconscious or dream visions or interpretations of visions, all these things just seem a little esoteric, and it's easy for us to instead put our egos up and be like, if I don't understand it, it must be crazy, right? And that's like a classic ego trait, to save your ego from the fact that you don't have the consciousness or the receptors for certain transmissions, right? So that's a classic turn to it. However, what I think the best idea to do is not go on the attack, not go on the runaway, but be still. Because in your stillness, you'll find patience, and you may grow the receptor for this esoteric knowledge. If you attack it, then you put yourself in a biased energy. If you run from it, then you put yourself in a biased energy. If you stay still and just you can take it with a grain of salt, take a look at it, make sure that it's something that resonates, or maybe even just part of it resonates, right? However, you have to be still to recognize, not be on attack. So this video is to do with a vision that I had. So the classic, I've had a vision in the past, a dream vision, that ended up coming remarkably true. It wasn't just symbolism, it wasn't just metaphors, right? It was something that was quite literally happened. I had this vision in about 2015-ish, and it was a dream vision, so it was a very lucid, or a very clear dream. I remembered things about it, and it was that I was raided and chased around by the cops, and it was mostly like an action movie dream, and I was like scared the just living shit out of me, right? And I woke up, it was over a couple nights, the same kind of thing. And it also affiliated Shambhala and some gangsters that were involved with them, and I was like, oh, it's interesting that was affiliated. And then what happened is, I was gang stalked by, I suspect, Shambhala, but they really were people trying to dominate me for my ideas. We got together from multiple business meetings, and they were just kind of, trying to plagiarize my information and such. And because of that, I turned on them, and I knew what they were doing, and then that's when all this craziness happened, and then I got raided by the cops. So that actually happened. So, and I've had other visions that have come true, and I'll get to those later. But I want to talk about just to ease people's minds, and is that when you turn to a faith in the higher power, then it's a faith in these visions and faith in stuff. Are we manifesting these things? Well, this thing that happened with the cops and and Shambhala, I don't know what I could have done differently besides been weak and run away to not have this event happen to me. So yes, there is manifestation. So a dream could just be something that shows you something you could be if you go towards it, right? So the idea is if you want to catch the bus, then you have to pray and run at the same time. So the vision is something that you can be, but that life that you see, that vision, could be cut off if you don't work hard towards it, right? And I think about the vision that I had, and it gives me peace, because I look at the archetypal stories that are happening in the world, and they're matching biblical archetypal stories, and the Sodom and Gomorrah. And I don't believe that is people like to just call that story all about homosexuality, and And I just think that it's about sexual immorality and general immorality, because if there's a situation where like a group of men are going to come and rape two other men, that's based in a dominance hierarchy, a sexual dominance hierarchy. Like that's not, it doesn't even necessarily mean those men are homosexual. Like they just could literally just be, at that point, at a society that it got so ridiculous that the beta chimpanzees took it over, right? And they were fighting because these angels are like are masculine entities, so they had to have a group to attack these strong angels, right? So to me, it points at just a hedonistic and sick society in general that allowed each other's morality to slip so far that they could go around living in a weak beta chimpanzee dominance hierarchy over true competence hierarchies, right? So you know what I mean. You can pathologize homosexuality if you like. That's your prerogative. However, we have to know that what is the intent of each sexual relationship. It has nothing to do with our parts. And I do think that there is ways for people to live normal lives and fractal out society in a homosexual relationship. And I know it's that. What do you mean by that? Well, what I mean is maybe back in the day it would be hard to procreate because you have this issue, but we have a lot of people that are having children that don't want children, so these families can adopt. And I think that that's a healthy way to move towards life. So if you're living in a hedonistic sexual relationship, regardless of your sexual orientation, that's bad. And I generally think that men, we live more hedon for the flesh. So I think that, let's say, we generally have things that happen more in those communities that go towards hedonism than, let's say, the classic marriage. You know what I mean? And I'm talking about sexual hedonism, right? That's also because if we're not deciding to fractal out and continue our race, then we might likely go towards nihilism instead. And I know that that's a big reason why let's say spiritual religious people are tend towards natural relationships. However, people should lessen the judgment upon other people's situations unless you've been in their shoes, right? So I see Sodom and Gomorrah story happening. That's just a general lack of morality to the point where betas are running things rather than true betas. What I mean is dominant hierarchies over competence hierarchies. They get together in their little groups and they dominate with strength and numbers rather than competence, right? And I see that happening. So I see the Sodom and Gomorrah. So I hope that this time around they'll find 10 righteous humans, right? The story says, will you start 50? Will 45? And he gets them down all the way to 10 people. He's like, if there's 10 righteous people in Sodom and Gomorrah and all the areas around these that get destroyed with this, will you save them? He says, yes, but God already knows that there's no, pretty much is what he's saying, is I know there's no righteous people left here. Because if there is anybody, if no righteous person could handle this pathology, right? So where is Sodom and Gomorrah? Well, my first guess is I'll tell my vision now. Well, the vision was that I was way up on a high mountain, way up, and I was looking at a ginormous city, and it seemed to be an East Coast city. It seemed to have a long kind of river going in, right? And coming out on an angle was like a peninsula, and then into a river, and then the city was right there, kind of thing. And what happened was there was something out in the atmosphere shooting a laser. Actually, to be honest, I couldn't know if the laser was coming from outer space or from an object that was right on the edge of our atmosphere. So they're outside, and there's an object, and then there's a pyramid-shaped object right on the edge of our atmosphere that is either shooting the laser or stopping the laser. But the reason I think maybe the one on the pyramid on the atmosphere is shooting the laser is that the thing out in the outside our atmosphere in space, it explodes. So there's a big explosion out in space, and this it's like had Mayan geometric shapes, so it kind of like reminded of like some symbolism of ancient times. But to me, it like I've thought about, it's some kind of technology that's way above anything we understand, and what we're seeing is that that technology is true, and what it does is it saves that city, but it doesn't entirely save it. Something's happening down in the city, and it's not good. But to me, it's like turmoil, like it's like the evil turning on itself, and it's eating itself from inside out because of the fear from this event they knew was going to happen. However, they had no faith in any higher power or any all-seeing eye or anything, so they went straight to hedonism and destruction, and they were destroying each other, and they almost destroyed the entire city just because they thought they were going to be destroyed. And that's kind of what I got from the vision. So where is this place? Well, I think about the most powerful organization in the world, and that's United Nations, right? And it's right. Think about the shape of it, and it really it looks. I looked at the over map, and it seemed to see the same as my vision. So I see that this could be something that happens in a city like New York City, and maybe this archetypal story will happen in multiple different places. However, I think what I also get an inkling from is we cannot go nuclear again, and they cannot. All world powers know this. However, they still need the big sword to show how good they are with it, so nobody attacks them. Right? It's just like mutual assured destruction needs to be assured still, and maybe they can't tell about their new weapons they have, because then it outs their secret powers, right? And also it would scare the shit out of us too early to know that there could be something that could happen, right? That and they're trying to scare us with nuclear. However, I don't see that happening this time around. We have to be conscious of not going nuclear. We have to move away from nuclear unless there's some kind of mitigation understanding and technology that's out of my consciousness, and I'm willing to listen to that. But at this point, to even hear Jordan Peterson talking up nuclear, what does he know that I don't know? Because that just seems not good. So is this vision going to happen? When is it going to happen? I don't know. Is it just a vision to show that the fear of the end will cause us to self-cull, right? Is that what the vision means? I hope it's not actual. However, I've had multiple visions become actual, so I also know that we can stop that timeline by what we do now, right? So not all visions need to come true, maybe, So maybe this is a vision that many people are seeing around the world, and people will start listening and be like, what can we do to stop this, right? These are my hopes, is people stop pathologizing people's visions, and realize that some people are picking up on stuff that's unexplainable and esoteric, So please don't call mental health on me, because I told you about some visions I've had. You know what I mean? And and this is the classic way, is like, oh, he's crazy, right? Well, come on. Just be still with that information. Maybe you'll receive it one day if you stay still. Much love.